I'm going to call the meeting to order. Start with pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mochler.
Here.
Graylobe.
Here.
Brady.
Here.
Teasy.
Here.
Gilbertson.
Here. Approve agenda.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion passes. Any conflict of interest declarations? Hearing none, approve minutes from the May 4th meeting, the May 12th meeting, and May 14th special meeting.
I didn't see anything wrong. I moved to approve.
Second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. Any visitors to be heard? You're on the agenda, Lori.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anybody else? Hearing none, we have a public hearing for the supplement of the 2026 budget.
Kind of mentioned this a little bit at the last meeting, but with the current renovation project coming in a little bit more than what we had budgeted last year, and that's always hard because when you budget in July and things don't get finalized until later in the fall, it's a little hard to guess what proposals are going to come in at. It came in a little bit higher than what we had budgeted, so now we just need to account for that.
And this is on the current court, the old courthouse renovations, right?
Yes, the old safety center and the court, third floor court.
40% of that number is the sprinklers. Just thought I'd point that out. Yes.
Yes. So I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mochler.
Yes.
Graylobe.
Yes.
Brady.
Yes.
Teasy.
Yes.
Gilbertson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Lori.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hopefully you can hear me. I'm here to give you a kind of a quarterly update on the 4-H program in Clay and Union County. Since I serve both, it's kind of a dual report. Since I did get you some notes, I'm just gonna hit the very highlights. Just first note, I did finish my required training with SDSU this month. And I start my second year next Tuesday, if you can believe that. Oh, it's already been a year. Some of the new things that we've done. We had new member orientation sessions, and this was to kind of take the anxiety and fear and questions out of the minds of 4-H families that aren't familiar with 4-H. Maybe they're never been members before, and those were extremely well received. The Clay County one, we had February 23rd. We actually had 9 new members from that night. And then Union County, and actually there's a couple there were 2 or 3 of those in Clay couldn't make it that night, but they did join. And I'm working with 1 new volunteer through the approval process. Hope to get that, tackled as soon as possible. Union County, we did the same thing March 9th, and we did 3 new members. So we actually signed 2 of them up that night while they were there. Been doing club tours in both counties. And what I've found interesting about that is once I've been to the meetings, we have better attendance at other meetings. So hopefully that's a positive or win-win for everybody. There's different meetings I attend. I attend the Fair Board meetings as often as possible in Clay County. The executive committee, which is a new committee, it's the representatives from the Fair Board and 4-H, both in the same committee. And this is above the leaders committee, and that's just so that we're more in tune with what both groups are doing and not quite as hard to keep up on changes for the Fair Board and 4-H. Been to some 4-H meetings, some I haven't been able to get to because of my schedule, but they're extremely interesting. 4-Hers at one had a beekeeper come in and talk, and they also had a gal come in and do some sewing. They were like 20-minute presentations, but these were sewing examples of what kids can take to the county fair, so that was really helpful. I am expected to meet with 4-Hers or parents when they request. I had what I call a rock star. One of our 4-Hers is working towards a leadership award, and she had to work with me to come up with a workshop that all 4-Hers in her areas of interest could come in. So she helped and did most of the organization for a photography workshop, which was well attended. And the leaders, if they attended that workshop, then they got to go home with one free mount board for their photography for the county fair. Another thing it's not new in Clay County, but did a Come Create Day on February 16th in Union County. We had 34 4-Hers attend. So it was, and they're working towards fair projects for the exhibit area, not livestock. Clay County's Come Create Day is always a big deal. It's coming up here on June 17th from 10 to noon. We take a break for lunch and go back at it at 1 to 3. We bring in 4-H clubs in Clay County. They come up with the idea for the craft or the project they'd like to see the kids create. If they don't come up with one that their club can do, they can actually have me, myself or Raleigh Sykes work with a business owner or whatever that will come in and help with the project. Another thing that I've got coming up is a babysitting class. I didn't even know 4-H had babysitting classes until I started this job, but this was requested in North Sioux City. Did not happen last summer, so it's on schedule on June 25th. I've got 2 specialists, one out of Sioux Falls, one out of Watertown. If you was in the packet I gave you, we're touching on 4 different subjects. There'll be a morning session, and we'll be covering first aid and safety. The Union County Health Nurse will be doing that. Handling children's behaviors, and that's a specialist out of Watertown. Financial management is coming from the Sioux Falls Regional Center, and I will be doing a session on how you safely promote your babysitting business and kind of what to do with your how to handle those finances. How to any resume. On page 4 of my report, actually skip that one on the, I guess this is just for me only. We're part of, there's 4 regions in South Dakota for 4-H. We're in the southern region, which covers 17 counties. And we are required to help with regional projects that can stay regional, but if they're accepted well enough with the curriculum that we create, then it can go statewide. So I'm working on, I'm going to chair the Beyond Ready Workforce Readiness Task Force. And something new with our Beyond Ready theme is not just bringing kids in to do a project or fashion review. We're trying to help them understand if they really love what they're doing, what career that might connect with. So part of the curriculum that I will be using, some I'll probably have to create, but there's been some created on the national level and a little bit here in South Dakota. But I'll be helping them understand how to do a job search, how to write a cover letter, how to write a resume, and then I'd like to follow it up with a local job fair, the 4-H Center in 2027. So, see how that goes. I've got to present it to the region October this year. So then on page 5, it says YLL and YHL season. Explain what they are. They're educational requirements that the 4-Hers have to do if they're going to show livestock at the county level in the state fair. I had to learn the ropes this year, so you see they're very closely spaced out in the calendar next year. I'm gonna start after October 1st and go forward, and we won't have so many quite so close together. But they've been well attended, and bottom line with livestock other than horses is, or in horses too, but so they learn how to take care of their livestock responsibly. Knowing on the non-horse side, some of them are market animals, which will eventually be, food on the table for us. We have to teach them how to grow it, produce it safely. And then horses, we also focus on safety is a big thing with horses, but in both categories, we talk about nutrition and also medical needs that they might have. You can see the list of topics that were covered in the people that we called in to help with those. We've got one left. This is a big deal because if they don't have it done by May 30 or June 1st with horses, they can't show at the county fair, which is our county fair for the horses is June 30th at Donnelly Arena. And for other livestock, they have to have them finished by July 1st. So Friday night, we have our last YHL or horse educational session. So that'll probably be well attended. Plus, in some of these events, we're opening them up to multi-counties or open event to the state. It just depends on what the leaders want to do there. So I don't forget to mention this. Clay County Fair is August 12th to the 15th. We've added one day to our fair, so it's no longer a 3-day fair. Part of that is to give the 4-H'ers and the staff and parents a little bit more breathing time between events because it was getting to be a little bit hectic. So we think that'll help with, especially help some of the 4-H'ers get from one project and one show ring to the other without too much trouble. And then the last thing I'll bring up is, that's acceptable. This is something new for both counties. I was trying to figure out what each club, do they have a primary focus? And this is part of that in recruiting. We started using it this year, but it's going to be especially helpful as we move toward October 1st, which is the first day of the next fiscal year when they join. So you look through there, probably there's if they can use them during the year. I want it to be available for parents and 4-H'ers if they're recruiting members. So when I can do the graphic design, which I've been doing for years, we haven't had to expense that out. So there's a club directory, tells them everything they need to know. There's various pieces in there with project deadlines, list of all the projects. It's got a bio on myself and Raleigh Sykes. So we hope that people are taking advantage of them and are requesting them from time to time. So with that would be the end of my report, and I'd like to know if you have any questions for me.
I guess just one statement to add on to what you were saying about adding the extra day. A lot of that was because there is a huge uptick in the number of showings too, which is
Right.
awesome. So
Right.
that's great.
Yeah, right. That's true. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Oh, we've got a joint powers solid waste agreement amendment number 11. I get to see this. Do you have any questions?
You know how just say it is that 2.1 million. How is that split up when we pay it back? It's just for equal shares, or on that loan part?
I just thought it'd come out of operating.
I believe, looking at this, that
the issuer is the city of Vermillion. The owners are the remainder. And the issuer is the one who's receiving it. So it's the city of Vermillion. How that's paid back, I don't have knowledge of that. I'm not sure. But it's being, the city of Vermillion is the one taking on the
Yeah.
loan. As to who's responsible beyond that, I don't know if that's found inside of this document.
I don't know if it's in here. We're all responsible. Cause if somebody defaulted, the other three have to
Yep.
pick it up, but how it gets paid. I'm pretty sure it comes out of operating.
Operating fund from landfill, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, so the landfill should just
I don't remember ever writing a check.
be self-supporting.
Yeah, we've never written a check for anything.
Okay,
But at some point, these agreements are gonna outlast the landfill. So we'll have to eventually down the road,
sooner than later. And
you just have to keep passing that knowledge down to whoever gets on the board later.
Yeah.
You've been trying to bring this up at those meetings and I'm not getting anywhere.
You've been trying to bring up how are things like this paid back at the
No,
meetings?
no,
Length of life.
Like
the lifespan of it.
lifespan of the landfill.
They keep kicking the can down the road and they don't even want to talk about it. So
Well, I would urge you to insist, because I think
I
that is,
have been.
that's important. Yep, yep.
That's,
I'm assuming they don't have an answer. That's why they don't want to discuss it.
they don't want to talk about it. And I even asked to be put on the agenda and they didn't do that either. So
You're actually a board member. How do you not
I,
get, how can that?
I
not
guess
be
I
on the
am.
agenda?
Oh, you are, we made you that. Yep.
How does that not get put on the? That's interesting.
interesting.
How often do you have meetings?
quarterly,
Maybe, notice the rest of the commission when your next one's coming up, and perhaps another commissioner might come and just listen and imply to them that there's a lot of interest in this body and getting
Who's-
those answers.
Who's the chair?
Lindsay,
Maybe it should be a agenda item on one of our joint meetings with the
Is,
city.
is that right, Lindsay, gentlemen?
Right.
we've got one coming in June, so restate my request.
That sounds good. I see Lindsay once in a while. I'll ask her about it next time I run into her.
What do you have any estimates on life expectancy?
Well, this cell 7, they're gonna start. I talked to Tim quite a bit about this and he said about 10 years.
So I'll see.
But
For cell 7.
Huh?
For cell 7.
Right.
Is that the last one though?
It's the last big one.
Okay.
There's a couple others, a lot smaller ones. And the problem is they're gonna start, when they're moving dirt, they might have to handle it twice to open up the other ones, so it's out there that it's gonna be filled up.
Quicker than I thought too. Cause when I got on, they told me 80 years. And I know I've been on a long time. But I've been on that one.
The what Yankton is bringing over is just, it's exploded. They're roughly 2/3 of the tonnage that comes in there. So
Well. Better get back to,
Yep,
The
yep, I
amendment
didn't
or
mean
the
to get
agreement.
sidetracked, but
Yeah,
No.
relevant though. I appreciate you bringing that up, man. Thank you.
so I'll entertain a motion.
I move to authorize the chair to sign the joint powers agreement.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion passes. Got a driveway application for Bryce. Scott Bryce.
Yep. Went and looked at it. Everything looked good. He started putting in the driveway already and went and talked to him and he was under the assumption that for every plat, you got a driveway with it. So it's like, can't. So went and looked at it and So it does look good, but I told him he does need to have a culvert in there, so he had no problem with that, so,
And you've got the check?
yep.
Okay.
That's that one right before the ball.
Yep.
So,
And that 18 inch, that.
Yep.
That doesn't choke down from upstream to downstream?
No, because the driveway that they put in before doesn't have a culvert in it, so the water
Oh, okay.
runs each direction from that, so.
Okay. To approve.
second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion passes. You want this back? We'll get it to you. Resolution to delete structure 313. Or a structure at 313th Street, west of Saginaw Avenue. From the National Bridge Inventory System for closure and removal.
Resolution 2026-14.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? The only thing on this is, I don't know if we should close it yet until they close the road. And I didn't get a hold of the landowner yet.
So,
Mike and I talked last week.
and I worked with Brent for the last few weeks trying to get this squared up. The only other question I have is it on the National Bridge Inventory?
Yep.
Okay, so this bridge is on 313th Street. It's a minimum maintenance road. Further to the west is a county bridge. These are both there's two county bridges on 313th Street within just about 1,000 feet of each other. The one has been closed for a while, correct? The one
The one over
farthest to the
Vermilion
west,
River.
over the Vermilion River. This bridge is a late 40s, early
Yep.
50s bridge,
Wooden structure.
wooden structure. You really can't put any equipment on it. Hardly can even drive it.
Yeah, it's down to like 3 tons, so. And the landowner already went and put a driveway or a approach and a culvert in just to the, on the northwest side of that structure, so he could access his property and stuff by eliminating this. So,
It's a township road, but constructively, we're closing 1,000 feet of roadway due to the fact that we already have a bridge closed 1,000 feet to the west over the Vermilion River. If we are to close and then remove this structure, it's 1,000 feet to the east. That leaves 1,000 feet of township road that's completely inaccessible. So we're constructively closing that for them by removing this structure. They haven't started that process themselves. No landowner has, or the township hasn't. I still believe we have the authority to do it. We own and maintain both structures. Theoretically, the township could come in and put in a structure that would fit within their own size specifications if they choose on the one.
If they force it, we'd have to do it because it's actually ours.
If we are to remove ours though and close our own structures, I don't believe that they could force us to put anything else back in there.
Well, we effectively closed a road that they didn't approve.
That is true.
And it's technically our bridge on their road.
Both of them are.
Well, the one's already closed.
Right.
Which I was surprised we haven't tore that out yet.
That's,
Does this culvert help the situation, assuming that there's not much local traffic?
No,
Local
yeah,
traffic.
there ain't nothing down there.
But does that culvert help the situation out at all in our stance, or doesn't really change anything?
I don't think so.
Because it's off the road. It's not part of the
Right.
road.
Right.
They're gonna want to close the road. The landowner's gonna want to close it. And there's no reason to keep it open.
But the township hasn't acted as.
Well, yeah, they haven't, I don't know what the deal is. They haven't done it. The landowner hasn't pushed it. Is there any way to make it contingent upon that road being closed?
We could make it contingent. The value to the county is A, liability reduction by getting rid of the structure that can hardly maintain anything. And B, the cost to have it inspected annually that we're paying for a bridge that we don't want. So it feels like it's certainly within the interest of the county to remove this structure. But it does leave this question of this road, this 1,000 feet of road. So I absolutely believe you could make a contingent. You could either table this or you could make, you could also make a motion contingent upon the township vacating the road within so many days. I think either one of those would be appropriate to allow for moving forward. And I think it'd be up to the body to decide how you want to move.
But it's an acceptable amount of days to get.
Well, that's what I was just counting out is 120 days. That should give them plenty of time to.
Right, I mean, if I don't have it in front of me, but in order to, you have to have the petition started by either. By residents of the township, and then they have to go through their public hearings, and they have to advertise. It's certainly well within 120 days, the amount of time that they would take to facilitate this. So 120 days would be, that's 4 months,
Yeah, because it's 1st of October.
right?
Which township is
Prairie Center.
Prairie Center?
And that's, I know that fits within the petition timeframe.
Is there any interest in tabling this for one meeting and having conversation with the supervisor over there and just seeing if we're all on the same page that it's not needed?
Well, it sounds like the supervisors don't want to handle it.
Yep.
They wanted us to effectively close the road by removing the bridge, but it's still a public access. There, it's still public right of way, even though the bridge is gone. So,
That is a township road?
yep,
Okay, so that's up to them, isn't it?
to close it, yeah. I mean, the landowner needs to petition. It's a simple process. It's just, you have to do it.
So it's the same process for them, even if we remove the bridge.
Yeah.
So it has to be done by them.
Yep. I'm just worried about taking the bridge out.
The only difference is by us removing the bridge, we are constructively vacating that 1,000 feet of roadway forward.
With motor traffic.
Correct.
People can still walk down it. Or access it somehow. There's still 66 feet of right of way.
By us removing the bridge, that removes our liability. With no bridge there that we own, does that remove all liability for us?
The concern would be that if the township were to push return, since it is an open roadway still, putting a structure back on that the area that we would remove the structure, we could end up in a situation where we could have to return a structure that we would after we remove it if they don't vacate the road. I mean, that would be the biggest concern.
Well, what about, the county created the county road system by declaring roads to be county roads, correct?
Correct.
So could
The
we?
state did.
The state did that or the state? So, okay, so the state would have to, if we as a county can't say, with the consent of these township supervisors, so that you don't have to deal with any of this process and we have regular meetings and we post notice about things all the time. Give us that 1,000 feet of road, we'll make it a county road for 3 months. And then we will handle the process of vacating it. We'll, but we'll take that road in the short term so that we can handle the process properly.
We definitely don't want that.
I was gonna say, that sounds like a bigger mess than
The
just.
township has the authority to close the road. I mean, all the landowner has to do is have 2 signatures. Put it in front of them. They have a public hearing. And they close it.
It just sounded like maybe that was going to be challenging, but
No, it's only challenging if nobody does anything.
I think getting someone to do something might be challenging, I think is more specifically what I meant, so.
I'm not sure if the landowner is even aware that that's something that he can do. I don't know if that's, I haven't had any conversation with the township or with landowner, but if the landowner hasn't been made aware that it's possible for him to
Yeah, I'll
petition to vacate that roadway.
I'll get a hold of Jeff. He's the landowner, Jeff Olson.
Yeah, he said he talked, I talked to Jeff and he talked to Joe, and Joe just wanted to make the simple and not have to deal with the public hearing, all that stuff.
It's not, well, and I need to explain it to Jeff that it's not closing the road just because the bridge is closed.
Okay.
Because if we leave it in there, I think if we leave the bridge there, people can still walk over.
Yeah, it's just.
Even if it's
drive
closed,
bridge.
it's closed to motor vehicles.
Yes.
And that doesn't close the road.
Right.
And I know I would be shocked if Jeff didn't want that road closed. So not have people walking across this,
Right.
what he's going to assume is his, so. But we can table it. That's,
Yeah, I'll resend my motion and move to table it till we get an answer from Jeff then.
till next meeting.
Yeah.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion passes. We go change orders. For the low slump fence. concrete overlay. Didn't we do that one last week? See,
Yeah. Yeah, he sent it out Thursday afternoon. I never did get a chance to look at it right away.
This is, yeah. Issuance.
So it was just a change order of pay or something, wasn't there?
Change order and pay application.
See, a little money.
payment 2 and final. Change order 1 and final. Okay.
Move to approve.
Both of them?
Yes. Yep. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Nice to see it come in 24,000 under what we were expecting. That's great.
Hearing none, all those in favor, or hearing nothing else, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion passes.
Oh, too much Memorial Day fun. Yeah.
We should all go on the video show.
Thanks, Brent.
You do.
Good morning, Seth Clentz of Peterson, Stewart and Clentz. Your next item would be the contract for 2027 that was sent out Friday. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review that. We came in at 261, and I'm sure as you look at that, you might wonder, they just make these numbers up. Where does this come from? I assure you, we do not. We've ran those numbers multiple different ways. There's a lot of variables. Clerks track numbers, we try to track numbers, the state tracks numbers, and then we're just trying to see where do these meet up and where are the trends. And so the state has also assisted, and I was appreciated their reach in looking at other counties. But ultimately last week, as we were anticipating this morning, we looked at some numbers that the state had helped me gather to determine how did we do with this the felony only contract that is. We were at 180,000 this year. When we look at the trend from 2025, we were at $504 a file. The goal has always been to be at about that 500 mark, and that's been uniform whether we're in misdemeanor court or felony court, which is actually kind of a wild notion that we're going to pay the same for both of those types of file. But we just decided that's kind of a practical goal to shoot for. If we go back historically, some of the commission may recall this, but that number had actually eroded away to almost just over $200 at one point. And so over time, we've tried to build that back up while also trying to be mindful not to far exceed that to come in with an outlandish number. But as I just said, for our previous contract, we hit the nail about by $4 as squarely on the head as we could have. And so the number that's been proposed in the current contract that's before you today, we simply took the math from 2025 again, added 10 files of growth, and then took that times $500 as well. And so that's where that 261 comes from. It is based heavily on trends and the current numbers that we're seeing. And somewhat of a sobering thought, the county that I'm contemplating walking away from, I sent this to Mr. Smith. If we use the same payouts there, it's not $500, and did that same math with our 2025 numbers, we're over $600,000 that we would be asking for if we were using that same budget, so to speak, that we apply up in Lincoln County. And so I think when we come in at 261, we're trying to be very fair. The other thing, and I tend to be fairly modest, probably to a fault, but I think there's times to kind of put it out there. It's come to my knowledge from multiple different sources that MAG court at times or misdemeanor court has come to a screeching halt, that we're not moving files like we used to when I had that contract. And I think that then compounds, it frustrates the state. They're going to have a new attorney, hopefully in the near future. That's a tough way to cut your teeth when you can't move files. And so I think that the relationships that we've built between our offices over the last several years, and frankly, even in the years before that, those are things that the county doesn't get to see, the savings of money, avoiding frivolous trials through client control, those types of things. And so hopefully just in how we came to that number makes sense. But if there's any scratching your heads or going, are we sure about this? Again, I think it's hard for me to say this out loud, but for the product you get for that price, I'm confident that it does pencil out. but if anybody has any questions, I'll attempt.
I support everything Mr. Flynn stated on this. First of all, I also did some of my own math, and Union County's paying, I meant to bring it with me today, but it's over $600 a file using the same math. Yankton County's not, they're less, but at the same time, there was a time in which Clay County was down lower as well, and I anticipate, there's an ebb and flow in that county that's likely to catch up. I think that where this contract compensation is at is fair, certainly within the realm of this region, and there was another change as well to the scope, correct? That I also wanted to lay out before we move forward, just so that everybody's on the same page.
Yes, well, and I don't know that it was a change per se as much as it was a clarification. So the previous years when we went to the felony only contract, we had taken off habeas and appeals. There's a state office that does those appeals at this point. So it was pointless to pay me for that. So we had eliminated those. However, in reviewing the language, when it says shall accept any appointment to any felony file, technically that's still an appeal. And so we just cleaned up that language and made it clear this doesn't cover appeals. The other part that was always excluded in my opinion, but again, this was to clarify, was when we get to those A, B, and C felonies, the potential issue you can have, and I currently have in a different county, is when you get to an attempted murder. A murder file and an attempted murder, in terms of the work that goes into it, for me, is pretty much the same. However, attempt is half value. So because it would have been out of contract, but it was an attempt, it brought it back within our contract. And so we get some of that cleanup language. The last big paragraph of line item 2, where we just clarify essentially those A, B, and C's and their progeny. So anything that starts there but may come back would still be excluded for those same reasons I've just outlined. I think that's the only changes that we made.
And of course, we're grateful here in Clay County. I think since I don't believe we've had one of those since I've been here in the last 3 years. And if we have, it might be one. So I think that's, while that's probably why it's been missed in part, is that there hasn't been a lot of time to determine whether or not that was within the scope of the language and previously, because it doesn't arise very often. So I've reviewed the remainder of the contract. It's consistent with the contract that we've had with Mr. Clintz previously and with your firm forever, and feel confident in the language of it.
And on the surface, it's a big number. But if we just went court appointed, or even if we had the wild thought of opening our own public defender office, this is still cheap. Because I know the public's wondering.
And the amount of time that we spend in misdemeanor court right now, in magistrate court, handling misdemeanors, of course, now we're down to 2 attorneys. We previously had a third, but we were going well into the afternoon, 2 to 3 Tuesdays a month inside of magistrate court, with an excessive number of files. That has continued. I mean, that's still continuing, and it will through the rest of 2026 while we're operating off the court appointed list. I mean, we're dealing with 10 to 12 different attorneys throughout the region. Really, none of them are from Vermillion. Some of it has to do, I'd say that some of the issues with moving files is the number of attorneys that we're dealing with. Some of it's the fact that they're coming in from different parts of the state. A lot of them from Yankton, but even farther, and they're kind of taking this on as a favor. They had their other caseload that they were working before, and this opportunity just arose. So they're taking on these cases, but they already had plenty of work. So getting into a position where we can work effectively again will be very advantageous for my staff and for hopefully for keeping people longevity purposes, and also me not coming back to this commission asking for additional staff.
And you're locked in, Seth, with the other counties until January.
I am.
So we can't make this work any quicker.
I can't. We have not a lot, but anytime we have a circuit court case that gets remanded for whatever reason, transferred to misdemeanor court, and Judge Sorensen has been very accommodating, but it's extremely difficult. Tuesday's a big day in Lincoln County. It's just.
No, I just wanted to.
No, I appreciate it.
Sounds like you guys get along pretty well together and have a good working relationship, and you can not decide the cases ahead of time, but you know what should go and what you can work out. So I move to approve this
I'll second.
contract.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Finding representation.
Is there a contract to sign?
I got a hard copy if you.
I didn't print it.
Okay.
It's 26.
Somewhere there.
It's that holiday weekend.
Thank you all.
Thanks. You're up, Mike.
All right, so as we just kind of alluded to, I had Cameron Morgan in my office. He was my deputy state's attorney, primarily handling magistrate court. His last day was last Wednesday in my office. His wife just graduated from USC Dental Hygiene. They're both from Oregon, and so they're expecting their third child, and they decided now was the right time to head home. We always knew he was likely going to be short timer, but we were hoping that would get another year or two out of him. But at this point, it's Caitlin and me running the office. Caitlin is done a phenomenal job. She's been with the office almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years December 1st. I made the decision going into this May or June time with going to the new June pay month. What's that called?
Pay period?
Pay period. Yeah, pay month. Well, we just get paid in a month, so pay month, pay period. I made the decision now is the appropriate time and the right time to promote her to chief deputy. So we put that on the matrix a couple of years ago. That was felt appropriate to do when the time was right. And so I've now promoted Caitlin to chief deputy for the state's attorney's office. That went into effect middle of last week, the 21st, and I have no doubt that she'll do a great job. We had an opening for the our deputy state's attorney position for a month. Very few applicants, and ultimately I've made the decision not to move forward with the one actually that we got. So really the rationale behind that was I've agreed to take on a public pathways student from the university, the law school that will begin August 3rd. This person that could have started with me also wasn't available to start until August 3rd. So I really would have been training two people to do the same job in early August. So with this public pathways position, this is going to be a third-year law student, and we've already had I had a conversation with the commission about this about a month and a half ago. She's going to come in and she's supposed to take on a full caseload. She'll have a dean certificate, which will allow her to practice under our supervision, Caitlin and myself. So she'll be able to walk in here and take on a caseload and negotiate with attorneys and review and make charging decisions, and then operate in the courtroom. She can run her own files. So of course, again, under the supervision of either Caitlin or myself, depending on who's with her in court. But starting a new person at that same time frame would have just, there's really only enough work for one person. So trying to figure out how we would have even done that didn't make a lot of sense. As I thought through it though, originally I was not, I had made an agreement with the university to allow this person to come in, and I was not asking for compensation for the public pathways placement. Of course, they're already in Vermillion, so they're not having to pay to move. The student that's going to come in the fall has to return to academics in the spring. So that's a third-year fall placement for 500 hours. It's full-time all fall. And then she goes back to her last year of law school in the spring. So some people are going to Aberdeen or Rapid City or Sioux Falls for that fall, but then they have to come back to Vermillion for the spring. So of course, what's advantageous for us is that she doesn't have to uproot and move and figure out where she's going to be at for 3 or 4 months. So she was agreeable to the placement without compensation. And, that all seemed like that's what the way we were going. Of course, now without having Cameron, I'm seeing this more as a potential for like a long-term job interview. So my request ultimately to the commission today is going to be to pay this person coming into the public pathways. And I think if it's appropriately in grade 15, that would pay her just over $24 an hour. I confirmed with the university that those that are being compensated, that's roughly what a fair compensation has been, between $20 and $25 per hour. I think that paying her just over the 24, I think it's 24.64 fits within that. My hope is that if she seems to be a great placement for our office and she enjoys being here with us, that we'll be able to keep her on potentially even part-time and through full-time through the rest of winter break, and then even part-time through the spring. And then she won't have to take the bar exam. So she can start with us again in May of 2027, assuming this is a good fit. So it's a good opportunity for my office to get some work from a will-be attorney very soon, and also an opportunity to kind of use this as a long-term job interview, if you would, for hopeful long-term placement. So the request today is just that we allow the law school intern position to grade 15 on the county pay scale. That does not mean, and I had this conversation with Carrie, that you don't have to pay every legal intern in the future. I think that this is kind of a unique situation where it makes sense to pay them in a hope that it's going to be a long-term relationship, even beyond the 500 hours in the fall.
That she won't start till August, I said?
August 3rd.
August. Which will be here before we know it.
With
Yeah.
camera regardless as well within your budget.
Well within my budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Works out. Yeah, I'm excited. No.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion passes.
I'll also give you another quick update also on personnel. Tracy Hummel started as a legal assistant in my office last Friday. Tracy was a senior secretary at the law school for about 7 years. She was there when I was there. She's fantastic. She has a long resume of similar type jobs, from city clerk in Hurley, finance officer in Hurley. So she walks in here, she's a true professional. She's picked up and she's going to learn very quickly, and she'll be very efficient. So she started on Friday. We're very happy to have her. So if you come over to the office, she'll be the face you see. She was excited.
She has that office locked down.
She sure does. She won't let you in. It's exactly what I want. So she started, and yeah, we're happy to have her. So we're now back up to 5, and eventually we'll get to 6.
Plus 2 interns.
Plus 2 interns. Yep, that's right.
Good get.
Linnea. To adjust office hours for the annual assessor training.
So obviously I was hoping to have a clerk by this time, but we're still kind of in the phase. We just finished some phone interviews, so we're looking at some in-person interviews. But next week, Melissa and I are required to go to conference. It's a yearly requirement for our ongoing certification. And Ina has graciously offered to come and babysit the office, but not at full hours. Tuesday, she'll be helping out with the election. So we will be closed Tuesday, June 2nd, and then June 3rd through 5th, our hours will be 10 to 4. So.
Move to approve resolution 2026-13.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mochler,
Yes.
Graylobe,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Teasy,
Yes.
Gilbertson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Linnea, did you move yet, or are you moved
Yep.
this week?
I'm upstairs. Yep, that was last week. Tuesday, Wednesday, we got moved upstairs. So, yep.
Go the right direction this one. When you got here.
Nope, not that too.
Gonna get a lot of extra steps in, yeah.
No.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, been a minute since I've seen you guys last. But no, So I know we kind of discussed this earlier in the year about forming a small group to review the ordinance from top down. You know, just, oh, you know, here's a grammar mistake. Let's go ahead, fix this. And then it's going to be like a section by section. So I figured both sets of eyes on it instead of just two is a lot better. So it'd be two commissioners, two planning and zoning, and then Nate, Mike.
Right.
If you, or one of the legal assistants.
Maybe a CCOG member might be a
Yep,
appropriate
yep,
person
and-
to have in there too.
Yep, and then, so the idea is gonna be we'll review and then change some things or add things to the ordinances. Have CCOG review it to see if it kind of like fits within what the other counties are doing in the state. And then, so say section 2, the definitions, which I've been working on already, you know, we'll adopt that. It will still be the same zoning ordinance, but just updated sections.
So what's the format that you're thinking of for these meetings? Is it something that would be
Yeah.
public meeting so that you can
No.
get as, I mean, I think 12 eyes is a great idea, but I
Yep.
think that we might be able to diffuse some conflicts by getting maybe some voices that don't see eye to eye, you know,
Yep.
in these situations and talk through some of the.
So at first it's
some of
gonna
the changes you're
be,
considering.
yeah, so at first it's just gonna be in my office. I have a TV set up now, so I can display stuff along with the little circle table that people can sit and take notes and participate in changing the ordinances. So we'll start with that. That'll be, you know, once a month, everyone does their homework, add some stuff, take away some stuff. We'll meet at the end of the month. Once that's good to go, send it up to CCOG, get their feedback, and then, you know, before we introduce it to the Planning and Zoning Commission, we'll have the public meeting, maybe at the library or something like that, just as a, hey, fillers. So if the public, you know, say we think something is really good, but then the public's like, you know,
Yeah, you can save some
May-
notice and things if you
Yeah.
go through, work things out at that stage. That
Yep.
seems fun.
So we're
yeah.
only gonna be able to have 3 people in that. Well, because Dave's gonna be in there and he counts for 2.
So the way that you could do this is, and I anticipated this, so. This commission can appoint a committee, a subcommittee, a task force, a working group, whatever you want to call it. So long as you avoid a quorum of either this commission or the Planning and Zoning Commission, because both of those are political bodies that are subject to the open meeting laws of the state. If you appoint and avoid a quorum, you can have this political subdivision, this county commission would be appointing this committee or subcommittee, again, whatever word you want to use. Avoiding the quorum, they could work, they then have to bring any reports, recommendations to, just like we've done with the building committee in the past, bring to the commission or bring to the planning and zoning board, at which point then they essentially give a recommendation to the planning and zoning board or to this body, whichever one is appropriate. And then that governing body has to delay taking official action on the recommendation, findings, or reports until the next meeting of the governing body. Similar thing that we've ran into with this body. So you have to avoid a quorum. Otherwise, if you have a quorum of either commission, you would have to have open meetings every time you meet.
Yep, and I mainly got this idea from the joint jurisdiction small group, where it was the 2 commissioners and 2 planning and zoning, along with the city. We're able to hammer a lot of things out prior to actually presenting it to the joint bodies.
Well, it was 2 commissioners and 1 planning and zoning for the county. Because Dave was.
Oh, yep.
Dave was both. That's what we're still gonna have to do here.
Correct, unless Dave is not involved. You could have 2 and 2 if they're not Dave. Otherwise, if Dave's involved, you can only have 1 additional for one of the bodies.
But I think Dave should be on there. He's the representative.
That helps me with changes.
Yep.
Well, I think y'all know I care a lot about our planning and zoning. I'd be happy to serve on it.
We got Dave and
I think Dave and I, sometimes have different perspectives too, so we might be valuable to have,
So Dave and Jeffrey for the commissioners, and then I have it on the agenda for tonight to appoint someone from the planning and zoning. So,
So I think to be within conformity of law, this commission would have to create by motion this, committee or subcommittee, and then make an appointment if you were inclined. In order to move forward with this creation, that'd be a decision of this body made via motion, both to create it and then also to place members. And I think also even the any additional members would have to be done through this commission, not planning and zoning commission, because it'd be this political subdivision creating the commission, or the subcommittee, or the committee, whatever you want to call it, and then you would appoint the members to it as well.
So we do that at the next meeting once they figure out,
yeah, figure out who wants to do it on
or do
the,
we create the committee with members to be named at the next meeting?
You can do that too. I think either would be appropriate.
Or do we just do it all at once? What's the easiest?
Did we do all that today, or do we have to announce that we're?
Yeah, since here we put discussion regarding formation, I would just anticipate moving, I'd put a little clearer language in the agenda, naming creating the small group or the committee, whatever you want to call it, and then naming the members as well. And then that'll give you an opportunity to have a discussion with the planning and zoning members
tonight, yeah,
You can report back who perhaps shows interest.
okay. Perfect. Thank you.
So I'm gonna save Senate bill for the last. And we'll just go to the approve accounts payable and the vouchers. If I get to see those. Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion passes. Resolution for fund transfer, and this is from the general fund in the amount of $681,141.50 to the highway fund and $61,035.50 to the emergency management fund as levied for in the 2026 budget.
Move to approve resolution 2026-15.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor or roll call?
Mochler,
Yes.
Graylobe,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Teasy,
Yes.
Gilbertson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Second quarter LEMPG matrix from the state. I'm assuming Lane didn't have any issues.
No, this is just the state updating you guys on their end of things. Doesn't require a motion or anything. It just requires that you've seen it, I guess.
Okay. Then we've got the June meeting dates.
Did we do that 911? Was that with the?
Assigned to $16,000.
Well, that was, okay, sorry, I missed that. Assigned $16,743.96 for future 911 equipment purchases.
So for those on Zoom, or those in the audience that might not be familiar, our agreement with the city for the 911 center, is that in addition to the 50% that we pay of the operating, whatever revenues we get for like 911 surcharges throughout the year, we'll set aside 10% for future equipment purchases. So last year, this would be our 10% would be the 16,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Oh, oh, is it a resolution too? Good.
Oh, this one's not a resolution, it's just a motion, so I just do voice vote.
Just as a sign.
Oh, okay. Alright. Sorry. You're
Cause there's nothing to sign for it either, right?
No.
On that one. So,
No, just a motion.
okay. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All same sign, motion passes. Now we can discuss the June meeting date.
So with the election coming up, it kind of throws off our every other week process. We have to have a meeting on Thursday to canvass the election. And then we would, if we went by our normal 2-week schedule, would have another meeting the following Tuesday, which I'm not likely to really probably have things for the agenda. So I didn't know if you wanted to just skip that meeting and then pick up our normal schedule on the 23rd, or how you wanted to handle that. I guess that's up to you.
So-
Always.
Couple thoughts. So the June 4th, the only thing on the agenda will be canvassing the election.
I can certainly put any regular meeting items on there. It doesn't have to be just the canvas.
I asked just because I had forgotten that we always canvass 2 days after each election and that we would have to be meeting that morning. So it'll be challenging for me to make the June 4th meeting.
Okay.
So that was one hesitation. The other, I think a question that I had also is, where department heads are with their budget requests. I'm real optimistic. We're not going to be requesting an opt-out, but I just want to make sure that we've got, plenty of time to have all the information in front of us. If department heads are going to have things prepared by the 9th, if we push it back to the 23rd, we would be getting in kind of tight on that July 15th deadline. Should we? need to have
Yeah,
hard budgets, but
I typically don't even have the budget packets ready myself, before that first meeting in July. By the time the department heads get it back to me and I get through the election, it's probably gonna be even more challenging this year if we have a runoff election, which it looks like we're probably gonna end up with. So as of right now, I think I've received one department head budget back for next year. So they're still working on them. I'm still working on the things that I do, so I don't know that I'll have them ready before that anyway.
July 15th is that deadline, is that correct?
Yeah,
so we would
It's a
technically,
tight
we could have
deadline.
if there's some that are ready by the 23rd, we could hear some of them then, so we're not having to listen to all of them on the day before the deadline, and I don't even know if we could properly notice a request for an opt-out if we made the decision on the 14th. Seems, I don't know, or we would need to have one in the packet just in case or something like that, but.
yeah. I think last year when I prepared the budget, I went ahead and got all the scenarios ready for an opt-out just in case, so that you guys would have a little time to
Yeah.
consider that.
Appreciate that.
Which,
You did a good job with that.
If the situation is that way this year, I'll do that too, but hopefully it's not.
But nothing says we can't have a meeting the 23rd and the 30th.
That's a good point.
Right.
If
Can always have more.
That's a good point.
My concern was just that if we met on Thursday, there wouldn't be anything for an agenda on Tuesday anyway.
Right.
So it was
That's,
a pretty tight turnaround.
that was 9 AM on the 4th.
Yep.
What's will work and we'll just play the others by ear. We'll just plan for the 23rd.
Okay.
But if we have to do something different, we'll do it.
And if something else pops up, we can always notice and have a meeting, but.
Okay, everybody get to see the department monthly reports
Mhm.
and the recent payroll changes. Gary, getting back to the election, what, if we did have a runoff, when is that? Or don't you know?
If we have a runoff, it's gonna be a nightmare. And just so you guys know, we'll run into that situation again where we won't have ballots in time for absentee voting. Because the state canvass is the 9th. And the way things are set out in statute, we would start absentee voting on the 12th. There's no way to get ballots in 3 days. There's just not. And then the runoff election would be July 28th.
Not till the 28th. Wow.
So,
And then you got a short turnaround to get the full ballot.
yeah. No. It'll be interesting. See what happens.
One of those times they don't pay you, no, sorry.
So I don't know how long Senate Bill 96 is gonna take, so is everybody okay with a 5-minute recess? When we start?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pause this,
Go ahead, it's all right.
I think, if I can see what I'm doing here. Hit my buttons. Oh, where you are.
So Senate Bill 96, I think everybody's familiar with the half-cent sales tax that the legislation just passed. So I figured we better have a discussion about it. So even if we were to decide to pass it, we have to have a resolution 90 days in advance before it can take place. And those dates are July 1st and January 1st that it can take place. So if we did decide to do it, it'd be January 1st before it would go into effect. So open it to anybody. Thoughts?
On that as well, isn't it the first year everything maintains in a? Is there something about the first year that you collect only retain 2% of it or something initially? I'm not
That's
sure.
specifically for the administration of it.
Okay.
And then each year after that, it's only 20,000.
That's what it is.
We can charge to administer this?
Yes. And then the state is also gonna charge to administer. it,
Of
so
course they
insurance
are.
can
Yeah,
go.
first year I've got 2% cost to county. Second year and then up, it's $20,000 per year. So they'll take $20,000 to administrate.
What's the 0.55?
Yeah, I read the 0.55 too. What do you say?
I think the 20,000 is the county's max to administer, and I think the
Oh, okay.
0.55 is the state's amount.
Okay,
State is 0.55.
So
Yeah.
they're gonna collect 5.5% of whatever the total dollar is.
I think
You've got,
each.
there's a number of things, yeah, so there's the initiation fees. And then 0.55% going forward.
So that administration deducted from each payment, is that monthly or yearly?
Yeah, that's how I think they have it structured.
Cause they're gonna distribute it.
Twice a month.
month,
Yep.
yeah, once they start collecting it there, they'll distribute it back to the county monthly.
Twice.
Twice a month.
Yep.
I think it said.
Twice, yes, twice a month.
Did others attend the Sedaco discussion of this with the Secretary of Department of Revenue? That was an interesting discussion. One thing that did come up and that was that the secretary their office had received a lot of questions about whether if a county were to implement this, if they could make it automatically referred. And the secretary said that based on his understanding, there had been an error in the legislative drafting, and that he said that was clearly the intent of the body. to make that an option. But that it did appear that the language might not allow it. And so he offered a workaround that he said had been cleared with the AG, that you could implement it contingent upon it being passed at a referendum. So it would not be, the language wouldn't be that it would be automatically referred, but in the language of the, if the ordinance, if we were to go that route, you could put in there, this only goes into effect should it be initiated by the populace and pass on the next ballot. And so then you would have that requirement that someone would have to take out petitions and put it on there, but it would get the ball rolling on it, and then that would provide a mechanism where the voters could have the final say on it. So. Also, I think in that discussion might have been when I saw the Department of Revenue's estimate of the impacts. So is that something that others have seen or?
I've seen it.
So for those that are listening in, I suppose in Clay County, we're so, and it is, it's up to half a penny. So, you know, were we to go this route, we can choose whatever level between 0 and half a penny. So, you know, at half a penny, the estimate based on, I think, 2025 numbers would be that in Clay County, it could reduce owner occupied county property taxes by 56%, which is actually pretty far down the list. We'd be one of the lowest impact. There's some counties, what do we got here? Buffalo, 5,333%. So, you know, in some of those other counties where they'd be anticipating 100% or more, you would expect that at least a little bit of that relief could go to the other classes, to ag and to the renters and commercial properties. So that did give me pause that it doesn't look like there's any chance that any of this would touch those other classes.
I've mentioned this, I don't remember to who, but keep in mind that the levies that they used for their estimates are the owner occupied levies within the Vermillion School District in the city of Vermillion. So they used pretty much the highest owner occupied levy in the county to come up with that estimate. So the way that this would affect homeowners in other school districts or in the rural areas would be different.
Thank you.
As far as.
I mean, the levy in the city of Vermillion for owner occupied is something between, I want to say it's like 19 per thousand, but if you look at somebody in rural Riverside owner occupied that's in maybe the Centerville School District, they're only looking at maybe 10 or 12 per thousand. Carrie would be better at levy numbers than me, but that's just off the top of my head doing tax estimates, right? So somebody in that area, their levy, and again, we're looking specifically at the county levy, which doesn't change between those classes. And now Carrie would have to come up with a way of breaking apart that levy and applying the county levy for owner occupied and then applying a different levy for the non-owner occupied and agricultural.
So that number that Jeffrey said, that 56% is skewed basically towards city.
Yes,
property.
where we've got, you know, a new school built, so there's a higher school levy, and they're using that higher 19 per thousand here, when it only affects the $5 or $6 per thousand that the county levies.
Basically, there's 40% of our city land doesn't pay property taxes.
Yeah, by land mass.
This appears to be referencing, I'm looking, because I had not looked at it that closely. So the document I'm looking at appears to be talking specifically about the county levy.
Okay.
Their headings are saying specifically of the county levy. They reference the 5.75.
Awesome.
So yeah, it does look like that specifically.
Okay. The website I saw during legislative session was using that one, so I wanted to make sure that, good, that's good to know.
Says charged $1.50 per licensee. That's just any vendor. Is that what that, the licensee?
I read that as any commercial, tax license would be the licensee. So a business with a tax license, so.
That's how I interpreted it too.
Yeah.
Does that sound right, Mike?
I hadn't thought of it, I don't know. And I don't think there's any guidance in the document.
We didn't talk about that, so I can't go.
I think that's probably all at revenue. I mean, do we collect when does somebody come to the county when they're creating a new business and going to be collecting sales tax at their new business of operation? Like, do they come?
I think
Talk
that
to us
would
about
be at
that.
the state level.
It is, they go to Yankton.
Yeah.
And
So don't worry about it.
yeah, this is a DOR document, so I'm assuming that's why they're like, everybody knows what a licensee is.
Yeah.
But I mean, is it any store or Walmart, Hy-Vee?
Yeah.
Is each one of them a licensee?
You have lawn carriers, me with my little side carpentry business, yeah.
Anybody who's paying sales tax, you know?
Yep.
So I looked at this is tangible personal property, products transferred electronically and services. Does that miss anything that we already collect on sales tax?
The only thing that I think that this might miss is are ag sales included or not? Because I think that these categories, this sounds like the language that is specifically not the ag, so they're the same rate, but so I think that this would exclude ag sales.
There is no sales tax on ag.
Well, there's the ag tax, which is
Machinery.
equivalent, right?
Machinery.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it just talks about machinery tax.
Andy's got something to say.
I was just gonna make sure, I assume Department of Revenue monitors this, but any online purchases made by a county resident should be taxed the same.
Yes.
Amazon. Yeah. What is your Andy's opinion on this?
I've already talked to Travis about this and I kind of really don't have an opinion, I guess. I really don't. I think it's a great concept. You know, anytime we can get some type of a tax break for the people, I think it's wonderful. I'm hesitant. You know, it's the unknown. So I honestly don't have a yes or no opinion. I'm willing to jump in and let's do what we have to do to see if it works. But whether I feel it'll be successful or not, sure.
But if it's not, we can always undo it.
Absolutely.
But I think it's a good thing right now. I just wish it was statewide instead of county by county.
Mhm.
My 2 cents worth is, I believe it's something we need to do. I don't like to do it. Just due to the fact, the only downside I see of it is we're adding burden to the low income people. That's my only downside of it. But once again, 40% of our land mass in town is not taxed. And that 40% of land is used basically by 80% of the people that don't pay property taxes in town, and they can share the burden. And that's a Clay County problem. It's not whatever county you said has a 5,000%. Buffalo County, yeah. They don't have that issue. We have that issue here. And so that's why I think, that will be a benefit for us is spreading that out. And I hate to see the lower income people have an added burden, but like Glenn and I had the conversation, we buy clothes, we buy food, the is we carry that burden also, so we're sharing it with everyone, so. I'm would be supportive of it.
But the flip side of that is that those in the lower income brackets are paying a much higher percentage of their income on taxable goods, which is this big struggle that I have with it. I'm not gonna lie, that's been my struggle with this. I hate the fact that the Senate almost sent this down to the counties because I don't place, but now it is. We have no choice no matter. But yes, it's almost reverse Robin Hood where we're kind of giving more to those who could afford to pay the property taxes but don't like to, and shifting it, you know, wider and hurting the lower income people, which is not a place I like to be at all. And you know, there's no relief for renters, and we have large rental population in this town. I understand like Sioux Falls and Rapid City are in a good place because they're gonna have a lot of retail ability to cover that. Will we make up the difference, you know, in sales? That's the other thing. And us being so close to the border, how many people might shift and go to Sioux City or something, you know, that those are all the things that have gone through my head. It's like, we're in a horrible location for all this that's going on. You know, that's, I'm not saying I would vote against this. I just am saying that, man, I've had so many thoughts about if it goes through, will we recover what we already have, you know, but I'm open for discussion on that too. I'm not bullheaded on anything. I'm just haven't tried to do my due diligence homework on this, and trust me, I put in way too much thought process into this already, but I feel back as a landlord, I understand the plight of the renters, you know, there, a lot of them are struggling, you know, like you were saying, you kept the rent the same, and a lot of people, we tried to keep their rent down, but as property prices go up, it's hard not to increase rent. Well, they're sitting there you know, struggling to pay their rent already, and there's so many complexities to this that it's just, it's tough.
Well,
I don't like the fact it came down on
And
us.
I totally agree with you that it's the low income people was my biggest struggle. I research this too, and that's my only struggle,
But there is a lot of fixed income families that own their own home.
Yep.
That this will benefit.
yep. The low income people that do own
The elderly.
it will help them.
We started paying less in property taxes, maybe we could drop our rent.
Are prevented from going any higher.
It isn't gonna help
Keep it-
us, it is gonna help their interest. It's own right.
Right.
Right, but it's all global bill for the
Yeah.
landlords. You're saving money on your house. But it's not gonna be perfect. There's nothing we can do that's not gonna be perfect here.
The 0.5 on $100 is 50 cents. And I get it, you're adding to the lower income people. But it just seems like so often that the property owners are the first ones to get hit with the increases, and this gives us a chance to give those folks some relief too. So
Possibly avoid an opt out next year.
Well, it doesn't give us any more money. It just saves it's a wash when it comes to our budget.
I specifically was talking to a previous commissioner who was just like, well, this might make it easier to pass it out the future. I was just like, oh, I don't know about that.
Sounds like double dipping almost, but the previous commission also tried to get a 0.5 cent sales tax or a 1 cent to help pay for capital, like the new law enforcement center. And we could never get that passed because sales tax was Pierce. That's theirs. But for me, in a roundabout way, I finally got the 0.5 cent sales tax that we tried to get to help pay for that law enforcement center, because it's the property owners A lot of them are owner occupied that's paying for that right now, so.
In the large scope of things, if the property taxes do go down, it could spur some housing growth too.
So yeah, I think that it's worthwhile. I'm really glad for everybody's perspectives. I'm glad everybody spent a lot of time thinking about this. A few, pieces of context that I think seem important to me is that, SB 245 also passed. So, there was some ask for, wish this was statewide. Well, we are going to have, at least as what's on the books right now, there's going to be a 0.3% sales tax increase. And that sales tax increase is just going to go towards reducing owner occupied across the state. So
For schools.
for schools, yeah, but the people paying their taxes at the end are gonna
Yeah.
see a reduction,
Right.
so. So I think, that's a couple things for me. That is, I think also anticipating, well, that could be a reduction, but then also if you're looking at it as a sales taxpayer, you could be seeing a 0.8% increase to your sales tax on everything, including groceries. And I think I can't help but look at this as a transfer of burden. So there are more than half of the people in Vermillion are renters, and that more than half are going to just see their taxes go up. So they'll get no relief from this. They'll still be paying the same rent that they were paying before. And if landlord's operating in the black, then that is going to also be covering that portion of the property taxes that's assigned to their unit. And then everything else they buy is going to cost a little bit more, and that benefit's going to go to us. So I was, thinking about who's going to be making this decision. 5 people, I believe, all of which own more than a median value house. And we'd be giving ourselves up to 50% tax break, and that we would be asking a whole lot of other people who'd be getting no tax break to pay for that. So I really struggle with the fairness of that. I wish, I believe that our property taxes are too high, and I'm constantly looking for, where we might be able to find ways to reduce them. I just have a lot of concerns about this one specifically for that. The other things that our high property taxes do is I think, I can't remember which you mentioned, this might spur some more growth. And so I do think I can imagine it being a little bit easier for someone to afford a mortgage. If your mortgage payment's going to have your property taxes wrapped into it, it's going to be a little bit more affordable. But as you're working your way towards that, I know a lot of people that are trying to buy houses in Vermillion, and they're pretty spendy, and trying to get to the point of having a down payment. You're just going to have a little bit more friction on you if we implement this as you try to get to that point. And a lot of renters in Vermillion need apartments. That's the level that they can afford. And for any of those multifamily places, this isn't going to help us get to that. It's something I've heard in the past. One of the challenges with our high property taxes is that it makes it hard for capital to site here. If you pile of capital wants to build an apartment building somewhere, they can look at a lower tax area and capture more of that profit, put it in their pocket than they could in Vermillion, because more of it's to the public budget. So,
What do our property taxes pay?
What do our property taxes pay? Meaning, law enforcement, roads, all the, the assessor's office, auditing,
Emergency services.
all that stuff, recording deeds, recording marriage licenses, having a court system.
And all the renters. Those people use all those services.
Yep, correct. Yeah, absolutely.
So you're saying they don't need to pay for those services?
I don't believe that's current.
What's that?
I don't understand the sense in which you think that a renter is not paying for those services.
Well, they can assist with the tax.
They are.
We're spreading it out a little more. So you're saying, all the burden's going to the property taxes right now. And that's on the homeowners.
But renters also pay property taxes. you might very, out of the kindness of your heart and charity, you might cover one of your renters' property taxes, which I find a beautiful, noble thing. But I believe that the majority of people that own a rental property and rent it to someone are operating a business that they need to operate in the black. And the property taxes on the property that they are renting to someone is one of the core expenses that they are covering through that person's rent. So a renter's rent reflects the property taxes in most cases. And I think it's wonderful that you don't click people's rent up in time with property taxes, but there comes a point when if you are not charging your renters rent that covers the property taxes on the property they're staying in, then you are not operating a business that's going to last. You're operating in the revenues. Is that different to your conception?
So just the words that you just used, if we continue to operate that way, we can't operate a county in the red either.
Right, and we don't.
I'm just, I would just throw out there that there's, I totally agree with adding burden to low income people, but the renters also use all the services also.
Yeah.
In our roads.
And I mean, I think that I would look at that the other way. I mean, homeowners use all of those services,
right?
And many of those services are, so.
Yeah, we have a lot of transient people that drive into town every day and they buy gas here. They buy food here and stuff. They use our roads, they use our services. So, I mean, how many commuters do we have every day? Quite a few.
Yeah.
So. A lot of different angles I looked at.
Any other opinions?
Taxes are too high now. They were too high in 1988. Bought my first house. They were too high in the early 60s. As far as
Mortgage rates were 13% in 1982.
yeah.
Yeah.
As far as this lower income. There's an old saying, if you wait to be able to afford a house for a kid, you'll never have a house for a kid. So. At a certain point in time, you just gotta work harder and dig yourself out of whatever hole you're in. So you can buy that first house and not pay rent.
Well, I know a lot of people that are really trying to get down that path, and what they're seeing are very, very, small houses for $350,000. And I mean, I think that there's a lot of people, a lot of households where if you've got, a couple teachers or a teacher and a police officer, they might not be able to get to that point. And those are people that I think are doing what they need to be doing. So I don't know that door is as open as we might, as we would all hope that it would be. And I think that if we had more houses that were in the $200,000 range, $250,000 range,
they're out there.
Make it easier.
They're out there. You don't need to buy a $300,000 house for your first house. Buy an old one and fix it up and get equity in it and go to the next one.
This here doesn't involve price of housing. It's supply and demand.
Right.
The prevailing housing market is very skewed. Just because of rentals, buying a new home, turning it into a rental. So, I mean, after going through the home buying process, yes, the numbers are quite skewed. You know, there's a couple houses up in Sioux Falls that were cheaper than the ones that I was buying here. Same footprint size, but 30 grand cheaper in Sioux Falls.
Yep.
So, I mean, is it a problem? Yes. Do I think that the kids in the dorm should also pitch in a little bit? Yeah. My top is busy with underage shrinking. They're all freshmen and sophomores. USD doesn't pay for it. So that's kind of a justification from the taxpayer. This is my opinion. You know. Supports the companies. They use the gravels, the townships. They use everything. It'd only be kind of fair if we did. Hey, lots of times on the math thing. At least that's my opinion. Now, I don't know, does the SDCL say that we can exempt food products? So if it's like SNAP, it doesn't get taxed. And I asked, because we're able to exclude food. You can go to Goodwill or the Civ and buy clothes. But then there. If we don't tax food, then well, that's a necessity.
Yeah, I was wondering if somebody was talking off camera, which
Oh, no, what? Yeah.
he couldn't hear.
Would you want to maybe repeat any of that in the mic? That's good context. That was good information. Yep.
Yeah, so just for the Vermillion area, the housing market is skewed. We have the same houses here listed up in Sioux Falls for about 30 grand cheaper. You can just check on Zillow. As a taxpayer, I would like the kids in the dorms, the freshmen and sophomores that are buying all their Amazon packages, you know, and all the other little fun things that the university doesn't pay property tax on to help foot the bill a little bit. To me, that seems fair. Now, once again, the bill doesn't say we're allowed to exclude food or just SNAP, because I want to put alcohol under the exemption tax. But if we could have, you know, your basic groceries, your meats tax exempt, then I feel like that would be a fair trade-off. Because if you're going to go and buy a video game, you don't need a video game, you need food. So
Online purchases would fall.
Yeah.
Under this.
Yep.
Yep.
Unless somebody does a VPN or something like that and like skirts it, but they should be, yeah, they should be allocating those out by zip codes, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's my 2 cents.
Administratively, so if we were to implement this, it would go into effect. As you pointed out, I agree with you, January 1 of 2027. From an administrative standpoint, how much involvement is there on county employees' resources?
We don't know.
No.
I was afraid of.
Well, I mean, they've got to change the tax bill to. They've got to do the math on that tax bill. It's got to show what they're saving. You know, it's got to show if
Yeah.
that statement you showed me today.
It's gonna be reflected on your tax bill.
So that's where the
And
work
it's not
is
gonna
going.
look at it. It's supposed to show you a credit that you get if you have owner occupied. Well, so that would be implemented by our
Yep.
tax program and the company that prints it, but I'm not sure. I think, you know, isn't there gonna have to be some new ledger line where we're holding that money?
Yeah, there will have to be some separation and there will have to be. Yeah, I don't know how that'll all work out. I don't know
Yeah.
how that'll affect our workload, what we'll have to do differently.
Right.
It's all kind of gray area right now.
With talking to Rhonda this morning, we kind of talked through that maybe the first year. Because we're gonna try and budget too. So we would disperse in July. What you collect in the first year. And then it'd be every July after that, so we would know how to budget for the county during budget time.
Doesn't it also specifically say that it starts affecting tax bills in 2028? I mean, we're gonna issue tax bill, well, Rhonda will issue tax bills January of 2027. At that point, is when we'll start collecting. Can you disperse in July? Is that an option? Cause then you'd be processing essentially abatements on everybody that benefits.
But this is what we don't understand, how that all is gonna work out either, because you would think that the money's gonna be, as I'll say, sitting in this pot, waiting for us to use. And then when we see this is what our needs for the year are gonna be, this money will be dispersed into the proper categories within our budget, which will then bring down the need of the levy to set our taxes for the year. So this is gonna be what offsets this. Am I making sense?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the same with property taxes. They're a year
Yeah.
behind.
It's gonna take at least a year and a half to implement it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But I don't see how we can disperse it through the year. It's money that we're gonna hold. However, Rod's gonna have to tell us what to do. But
Yeah,
Here it goes to you,
yeah,
correct?
it will go to me. In turn, I turn it over to Carrie for the budget. It's our big circle.
Yeah.
And,
Uh-huh.
And then she'll take that 5.79 in all three categories and just take the owner occupied until it's 0, and then these two move down at the same. I can.
all practicality, I'm not sure how that's all gonna work, but
mhm,
we'll figure it out.
right.
Let me throw one more weird thought that I had when I was doing all this research, because I was like, I have to do sales tax on 2 different businesses, and how would you do it? Let's say that Turner County or Yankton County decides not to do this and we do it. Irene sits in 3 different counties. How do we figure this out? I mean, I know it's a small potato thing, but
Well, the state's
Well-
gonna know where that business sits.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are gonna have to keep track of the money
Yep.
and split it out.
Yeah.
Tax licenses.
And remember that Irene as a city is able to do their municipal sales tax, and we aren't touching what they are collecting, levying, et cetera. This is just,
Right, but
if the business sits north of 46, it's in Turner County. If it's at south, it's in Clay County.
It's no difference if you did work in the city of Vermillion or you did work in the county.
Well, that's 2 versus, yeah. But the city itself, yeah, oh.
The state will figure all that.
Yeah, the state will divvy that out. That's their
Yeah.
part of the program.
That's why the Department of Revenue didn't want this.
Understood. So make it, if you got it.
No, they're still gonna have to do it. They didn't want any of it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should ask your young intern her opinion.
I know nothing about it other than all the things that you've said here. I mean, it could be smart to tax the children and everything that they ruin in Vermillion. I even college students. Those,
Say that at a
Sign-
mic. This is
sign-
really good. Like a similarity.
no.
I'll sign up for that right now.
and that's, I mean, my office, we're supposed to go, okay, how do you look at this from an unbiased, fair and equitable? And one of the things is a lot of people talk about, well, how many of our people go to Lincoln or Minnehaha or, West River, how many travel to these, okay. You gotta look at who is being burdened with the property tax, what we're levying property taxes for, which public entities are bearing that burden and how much is that disproportionate? You think of, Sioux Falls crime, Sioux Falls roadways, Sioux Falls emergency services. How many of those public entities are levying taxes on their citizens that are serving people that aren't from that county? And so, yes, they may end up collecting a lot of the sales tax that we may be losing here in Vermillion because our people are traveling to Costco or et cetera. But then that's helping offset their people. So same thing here in Clay County. We're a prime example of, Dave said it, 40% of our land mass in the city of Vermillion is tax exempt. And of that 40%, probably another 30% is the college. Are they able to collect sales tax at their Chick-fil-A, their Qdoba, there's Starbucks on campus, right? These are places where they will now contribute to the tax base. And then how disproportionately do those taxpayers burden our public entities? I think that kind of helps balance it. I agree from the start. I mean, I hear constantly about the property tax burden. I'm going out to people's houses and hearing about it. Not, you know, getting to do my job because people are mad at my office for something I can't control. But ultimately, my job is to constantly study whether it's regressive or progressive, right? Who am I more disproportionately affecting by the way I set my values? And I think all of the different taxation methods need to seriously look at the regressivity or progressivity of it. I would agree that sales tax is more regressive than property tax. It does disproportionately affect our elderly renters. It does disproportionately affect our low-income renters that aren't students. But who is burdening the system and who will pay more? We've got, you know, our population sign says 11,900. How many people are realistically in Vermillion, and how many of them are burdening our public infrastructure?
Is there ever a time that you go to Walmart running TSC or Hy-Vee and you do not see a Nebraska car in the lot?
Well, the other thing to take into consideration too, at least for me, if you look at that paperwork, if Minnehaha County were to implement it, it takes away 96% of their tax burden on their owner occupied. Now, if you were moving to the state, and if we didn't implement it and they did, where would you build? That's what I'm also worried about that. That's why I wish it was statewide, but
yeah,
it's not. So this is the game we get to play.
That was the concern I had, is that people are gonna start moving out of the small towns.
Oh,
They're
definitely.
gonna head for Sioux Falls and Rapid.
Well, if you're low income and your tax burden is 4% of what it should be, where do you think you're gonna go buy a house?
And that's gonna change your mortgage.
Oh,
immensely.
yeah.
I don't know that this makes a difference one way or another in this discussion, but when we started talking about the opt-out last year and I started looking at numbers, our county levy has remained fairly close to the same over the last 30 plus years. And so really what's happening is the home values are increasing.
That's the problem. And you don't necessarily have more of a home. We have elderly who bought their house 50 years ago. They don't have any more house, but all of a sudden it's 5 times higher than what they paid for it.
Yep.
Which is kind of what you want.
It is, if you're gonna sell.
Right.
But look at inflation. What's the cost of a shirt compared to what it used to be? What's the cost of a loaf of bread?
Oh, I
It
know.
used to be 25 cents and now it's $4. You know, things inflate, and that's the levy system is supposed to compensate for that. Obviously, not as much anymore. I mean, we can't fantasize about having $40,000 homes anymore.
No.
That's not the reality.
I think a few additional thoughts. You brought up progressivity and regressivity, and that is one other thing that I thought about this is that the impact primarily goes to more valuable houses. So the more valuable your house is, the more of this tax benefit goes to you. And that is not progressive. So that troubled me a little bit. And the scale of the benefit can be quite substantial, so I think, one way that I heard this framed was that, so I think that, again, this was the Secretary of Department of Revenue was saying, he'd had people saying, well, aren't I just going to end up paying as much out in sales taxes as I was in property taxes? And he said, no, he said, the way you should think about it is that you'd have to spend $100,000 on sales taxable items in your county in order to spend an additional $500. So if you're getting more than $500 of tax benefit and you're spending less than $100,000 on sales tax in your county, then you're coming out ahead. So, which I heard, I think is an argument for for the tax, but it also gave me pause because, you know, it kind of puts into perspective the scale of sales that people are gonna have to do to give somebody like, you know, I might get $2,000 off my getting, you know, like $400,000 in sales. I think another thing that I really would be interested in, because I think that some of the strongest arguments that I'm hearing for it are that there is a population that is avoiding property taxes, those that live in campus housing. So they are not contributing to our property tax base. But I don't know what that population is relative to the rest of the rental population. So I don't know whether we're arguing for, you know, making that argument based on 20% of the total rental population or 5%, or I don't know. I just don't know what those numbers are, and I don't know if anyone else does, but I think that is relevant. Because there are a lot of people that are in, you know, that just live in Vermillion, that are not in the dorms. There's, you know, students that are not in the dorms, and then there's people who just want to be in our town long-term that aren't in the dorms, and it might be living in rentals that are, you know, where all they're gonna see if we pass this is more taxes.
There's a lot more than dorm. We're talking about commuters. Yeah. Fixed income people. You know, benefit from that too. There's a lot more than people that this affects. We can't just say dorm people, because that's not my intention at all. It's, you know, it's part of it. Yes, not deny that, but there's a lot of community people that Yankton people commute down here from Sioux Falls, in Sioux City. There's a lot of commuters. So there's a lot. And there's a lot of people that rent in town that's not involved. They're not students.
Right, they just want to rent, so they don't have the responsibility of a mortgage, of taxes, of their own lawn care. You know, they rent because they want to.
And there's renters that are employed by the university that could easily buy, but they know they're not gonna be here for that long.
Yeah.
They're just transient. Professors, you know, they're just here for a stepping stone.
I think the biggest thing is that if you pass it, every single one of you should influence at least 5 people to buy local. I don't know, that's just throwing numbers out there, but that's kind of what we agreed amongst equalization. Like I said, it's not gonna affect my office. At most, I'll maybe have maybe $1,000 for software changes on the Beacon side of things, making sure we're reporting that extra line item split out. Maybe. It's not really going to affect the way that I operate, but I will be encouraging people to shop local when they can.
Get us to Costco, Everly.
Yeah.
Taxpayers also want us to do something.
Yeah.
They have spoken very loudly that, and unfortunately, this is the easiest one right now.
So I think that's a good reminder of, so I wanted to hear what people's thoughts were about referring this, you know, so I think that would give me a lot more comfort, I think, if you know, if we initiated something, but then left it to the taxpayers of the county to say, yes, we do want to implement this additional sales tax on ourselves, you know, and if enough people turn out and did that, you know, we could put it on a ballot that we were already in print. Doesn't have to cost us anything extra, really. But it give me a lot more confidence that this is the will of the majority of the people. I mean, all of us, I think possibly every person in this room would benefit from this, but we certainly aren't everybody, you know, and there's a lot of people that would only be seeing their taxes go up. And so they would be, you know, be giving us that benefit. And so I think that you know, I would advocate for that, but I'm curious to hear what others.
I think we should just implement it and they can refer it, because it's gonna cost us to send it to an election. The property owners are gonna vote.
Some will and some won't. Yeah, I've had a lot of talks about this leading up to this, because I wanted to bring other people's perspective into the room. And many of the people that are opposed to this that I've spoken to are property owners. They just don't think it's fair. So So it's certainly not all.
So they don't want a break on their property taxes?
They don't want a break on their property taxes that's paid for in this manner.
Want to abolish them altogether?
Well, they,
I think some of them would prefer to have a well-structured income tax. I'm happy to say that is not.
What?
We're talking about new legislation.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not saying that that's something that we as a county are doing, but when you talk about different options for lowering the tax burden, you know, the property tax burden that is.
There's
that is
plenty of
extreme.
states they can move to.
Yeah.
I came from Iowa and we paid a whole lot more in state income taxes than we did in property
There's plenty of states
taxes.
they can move.
but when you talk about a tax burden shift, when you go to a sales tax, you're gonna burden the middle class and the lower middle class and
With
and
an
everybody
income
below
tax.
that
Yeah.
more
With an
by a sales tax. Because the one thing I figured out is rich people know how to keep their money and they can afford people to find how to hide their money. Everybody else can't. We get to pay the tax. That's why it always boggles my mind with a state income tax. That is far more regressive. And I've always said it too. The only tax that's not regressive is the one you don't pay. All taxes are regressive.
I don't think that's the definition of regressivity.
Well, it depends on what definition who made the definition.
A more regressive tax, a higher proportion of that burden is borne by people with less resources. That is a more regressive tax. A more progressive tax, more of the burden is borne by people with more resources. So that's my understanding of what regressive versus progressive means.
Well, I know my office is these, you know, we get all these non-residents wanting to register their vehicles in our state because we don't have the income tax, this, you know, state income tax, and they're avoiding it. And their car is part of their personal property taxes that they pay. And we're busy. We're very busy because of these people avoiding their personal property taxes wherever they reside. So there are ways to get around it. That income tax, you know, like you say, the upper know how to eliminate it or pay less, where the rest of us, we don't have the write-offs and we don't have the accountants who know how to work those numbers for us. So an income tax is not the answer for South Dakota. And I just know that because of what we see every day with these people showing up from all over, literally showing up in our office. It's not even mail anymore. They're driving to come here to do this to avoid taxes in their own state. So.
I saw a lot of.
You're gonna have to come to a microphone some.
Off of what she said, having a income tax, they're living in both Hawaii and New York. I saw a lot of 19 plates. I mean, there's a reason.
Yep.
That stuff happens, but once again, I guess sales, Hawaii does it. You know, they have a tourism tax. I don't know how constitutional that is, but you know, if you're not from the island, you pay more. Okay. That's a sales tax. They're going there for vacation. They're spending money on hotels. They're spending money on restaurants. They contribute to the infrastructure, kind of like USD would finally be contributing here. So, and then maybe, you know, if we do lower it, maybe some of the landlords want to sell off their homes, and then that opens up the housing market. Instead of it being a 50-50 split on rentals, item might be a 30-70, you know. That, I guess that's an option. I don't know if they're actually going to sell their homes, but you know.
One of only 9 states about it. And to me, that's a calling card for our state. You know, but we're surrounded by, Wyoming doesn't have it, but surrounded by states that have it, and that's a bonus for us. I mean,
Yeah, but they offset it by doing other things.
Well-
Like Minnesota doesn't have tax on clothing, Iowa doesn't have tax on food, which I would love, but that'll never happen here either, probably. But, you know, they're gonna get you one way or another.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the way it is.
So if we were to move forward, I just wanna hypothetically ensure I understand. I'm on the same page with you guys. July 1 is the earliest any action can be taken. If action is taken after July 1. Well, it doesn't have to be taken. Let me walk that back, but it doesn't matter now because we're already into the end of June.
Right.
So nothing will occur until January 1 of 2027, assuming that a decision is made, whether it's through a vote or through a decision of this board. It won't be implemented until January 1 of 2027, so long as we get notification to the department more than 90 days prior to January 1.
And that 90 days includes the 20 days after,
Correct.
after we've implemented it, it's gotta go through that grace period. So it's really 4 months.
Yeah, that's fair. And then, and if we were to go the route of a vote to the public, that's a November election, so then it would be being implemented July 1st of 2027. Assuming implementation January 1 of 2027. When does this become, walk me through the time frame as you guys understand implementation, that July, let's say January 1 of 2027. Before the 90 days or the 4 months really that would be necessary. Clay County adopts this up to a 0.5 cent tax. And then we begin the process effective January 1 of 27. But then what does it look like after that as far as implementation?
That's something we're not real clear on. The way I understand it, once we start collecting the money or the state starts collecting our money monthly, I guess then they said bi-monthly. In my meeting, they told us monthly, but I'll believe what you guys read. We will start receiving, our portions back. And we can, this was the part I didn't understand, and I don't know what Carrie's take on it was. They said we could start applying the money or holding it, pooling it, to be applied when we felt was the appropriate time, I guess.
And that's what I didn't like about it. They were encouraging the counties to go ahead and start applying it, but it was like an estimate because you didn't have that full collection, so you didn't really know what you were getting. So I think in order to do it right and not have to rely on an estimate, you'd have to wait. I think
That's the only way in my mind, can see it working too.
And collection would begin January of 27, but doesn't this only affect 2028 and beyond?
Yes.
Property taxes? So how does that look? I mean, we know we pay in arrears, but if we're collecting in January of 27, but can't apply this until the 2028 tax bill, the only thing you can do then is hold it, correct? I mean, how could you even do anything else with it?
Exactly.
that's what I thought.
That's my understanding.
I'm also there.
So for like a year, we're gonna be like almost double tax. We're gonna have to pay the property taxes where we're at. Plus, we're gonna have to pay the extra 0.5 cent sales tax.
For a year.
Uh-huh.
I mean, property taxes are a year behind too. You build a new house, when do you start paying taxes on it? If you finish completion of that house in October, you're not gonna pay a tax bill on it in January, cause that was from November the year prior. So you basically get a year off of property taxes on new housing. Same thing, it's always a year behind.
So when do you send out those tax bills? Not the assessments, the actual.
The tax bills go out in January. The numbers are turned in August, September. Am I right?
First week in October.
Yeah, first week in October.
And then once they we don't usually get approval of the levies until closer to like Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically.
Right. Yeah, we'll get our virtual tax bills the end of December. And then the physical copy goes out after the 1st of January. For the year behind, we're a year behind.
So the easiest way to implement it is to hold it until you have to submit to get it printed out, get those tax bills printed out.
Yeah, that's, kind of how I was trying to explain myself is I see us holding this money. And then when we go to send off our numbers to the state, you know, we apply whatever we have that can be applied, which will then bring down, you know, the amount that we're gonna submit to the state for our owner occupied, and then from there, the numbers are approved, we'll print our bill, it'll show how much was applied per person.
Cause you have to submit to the state by what, the 1st of December?
October. Carrie submits those
So
numbers.
Every October, we'd have to hold it till October the 1st year, and then it'd be annually for a year after that. To make it simple. Otherwise, like they said, you have to do an abatement.
And we're not gonna abate thousands. No, we're not gonna abate thousands. of
That would be a nightmare.
properties. That would be god awful.
Not be covered by this administration.
Yeah.
20,000 wouldn't cover that, no.
Have you run any scenarios as to what this will save on, say, a $300,000 house? Have you?
Well, we got that email, and I think it was on a $325,000.
Yeah, that was Minnehaha, Pennington. though.
No, that was for us.
Oh, it was us too.
It was either 900 and some or 1,053. I keep bouncing between those two numbers.
Because I know Minnehaha, or what was it? Pennington looks like about $927 and Minnehaha $886. Or the other way around, 927 in Minnehaha, 886 in Pennington on a $325,000 house. That's why I was wondering if it had been around here.
Yeah, so if you're looking at a 320, so I just took, so the levy listed here is $5.75. If you reduce that by 56%, so 56% of that levy is $3.22. If you multiply that times 325, I get $1,046. So a $325,000
on a how valuable?
$325,000 house.
For the year.
Yes.
Trying to like do the math formula in my head, and I don't think I could write it out to kind of, okay, so like if the whole county is $10 billion and the owner occupied portion is 5. That's right now. I think it's 9 billion is what we're at. And the owner occupied portion is half of that, because the other half is your ag and non-owner. And then you would take. It's like Carrie's gonna have to calculate her normal levy based on the budget, and then reduce the budget based on how much sales tax is generated. And then calculate that on the owner occupied.
I wonder her eyes are glazing over.
She's gonna have the hardest job.
She is.
We're here for emotional support.
So, yeah, based on these, I think it was 3.368 billion would be the owner occupied property taxes for Clay County in the year that these numbers are coming from, which I think is 2025. I should. Bottom of this.
Well, you would hope so. They would have had access to that.
Yep. Yeah, yep. Do people have thoughts about potential rate that we would consider? So, you know, we could, it's an up to 0.5%. You know, the benefits and any potential harms are, you know, lessened by a lower rate. So if you, I don't know where people feel about that, but.
I'm at the 0.5.
Same here.
It's kind of the way they set it up, that if you didn't go there, you'd probably get, and we would be in the opt-out situation again, probably.
Well, we don't get any more money, and we don't get any less money from this. As far as our budget goes.
It's just a shift.
How does that work if we don't come up with enough money on the extra half-cent sales tax? Say sales are way down across the county. How does that hurt or help our budget?
Well, it doesn't. It's just a tax break for the owner occupied
Yeah, so
property owners.
say you were getting $1,000 a month or a year off your property taxes and sales plummet. You may only get 500 off your property tax bill.
And that's why I said, I think we kind of have to wait to collect and then
Right.
apply the credit, because otherwise we don't know what our sales are gonna do.
And your sales cutoff will be if October is when you have to submit every year, October is gonna be the cutoff. Cause then you'll have a full year after you get past the first year and then
For sure it's gonna be chaos.
the first year is gonna. The implementation to begin with.
Yeah.
And the state has a resolution written already, Mike, is that right?
They do that they've shared with us.
You know, get some more industry down.
Come on, Noah.
This will make their equipment cost more.
Commercial industry already gets a 5% discretionary on it as far as property tax goes. So if they have to pay a little more on their equipment coming in, they're getting a 5-year tiered property tax.
Yeah.
That's the one that starts at 20, right, and steps up.
When's our, other than the 4th, when's our next meeting? The 23rd?
23rd.
Should we put this on there for then? Try and make a final decision that day.
I think we did a good job surfacing a lot of perspectives on it. Hopefully, if, you know, people have an opinion, they can watch this meeting and all the mics work now so they can hear what we talked about.
It's hot outside. Maybe we should drag this meeting out for a bit.
I don't mind being in a basement right now.
They'll say Scott did a good job on the air conditioning. It's not as hot in this room as it used to be.
Yeah,
Oh,
I agree. Oh,
So in anticipation of this, there is a sample ordinance, but it probably needs to be reviewed. My opinion would be by CCOG. I can have a conversation with Noah. We're gonna have to go through that process as well. I mean, it's a sample. Of course, nobody's implemented anything to date. There's also some SDCL code that's missing from, that were just left as X's. So there's some work that needs to be done on any ordinance creation. But I can work with Noah, and then we can work with CCOG.
do we need to make a motion to table this discussion until that meeting, or is it just, we had
This
a
is just
discussion and we'll have
discussion.
another one then?
so with an ordinance, we'll have to have the first reading and the second reading.
And the adoption of the ordinance, I think, has to be after July 1st. So I think that probably another consideration would be at the June 23rd meeting, the expectation that if we're gonna vote on it, we would vote on it in July.
It's an ordinance. This is planning and zoning. You have to,
Let's go to Noah for that.
I'll get back to you on that.
it's an actual ordinance.
That's what they provided. What the state has provided is a sample ordinance.
But we can.
I
pass
don't think an
ordinances.
ordinance has to go through planning and zoning because we have ordinances for other things. I mean, yeah, there's ordinances for liquor licenses and, you know, all kinds of things. So
Yeah. We'll double check on that though too. And we need to look at state law and we need to look at our own ordinances. But I agree. I think implementation after July 1 is probably paramount since this doesn't go into effect until July 1.
Yeah, we don't have the authority until July 1st, so I'll reference it.
Nothing else. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.